Hot topic of the day here on Morning Kickaround. After going 9 matches without a win, what does it mean the injured LA Galaxy superstar Riqui Puig had to come to the defense or chose to come to the defense of his coach Greg Vanney after another loss? Reigning champions LA Galaxy winless after 9.
Yeah, this seems like an escalation, right? Like, okay, Ricky's got some time on his hands. I know he's rehabbing. I know he's trying to get like the surgery is done, the healing is mostly done. He's just now trying to rehab his way back. He's got another 4 months before we expect to see him on the field. So he's got some time on his hands, and he decided that in response to this is not a national news outlet, right? This is not ESPN, it's not the Athletic. This is not some notable personality within American soccer asking the question about whether or not Greg Vanney should be gone. This is a fan account. LA Galaxy community and memes is how they are described on X. All right. Only one person I know follows this account. That's Eli Lesser. Shout out to Eli Lesser, great YouTube content creator and a Galaxy fan, Eli, I believe. So why did Riqui find it necessary to respond to this? Does he think there might be real heat and that his guy Greg can go? First of all, let's admire Riqui for supporting his guy, right? The guy who won a championship with last year.
He's obviously still engaged with the team.
Yeah, obviously, yes, right. And this is why I love Riqui Puig. Not only is he a fun player to watch, not only is he's a guy that I think makes MLS more interesting on the field. I mean, at the end of last season, what was so crazy is he had been this way all year long, but you saw in the playoffs on the biggest stage, he was the best kid on the field who you give the ball to so he can dribble 10 guys and find a way to score or set somebody up to score, right? It felt a little bit like youth soccer, the way Riqui would pick the ball up about 25, 30 yards from his own goal and just go, and there's guys available. It's not like there aren't guys available. There's guys here. And he's like, no, I'm going to dribble 3 guys.
I can just imagine the youth soccer parent like, hey, kick that kid. What's that little kid doing there?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knew Riqui was the best player on the field. He had the untimely injury, obviously played through the injury to help beat Seattle. Incredible stuff there. And then, and obviously, look, whatever his dreams were when he arrived in Los Angeles, he didn't come here thinking, I'm just going to bide my time and go back. He's all in on being a member of the LA Galaxy. He's all in on helping that team win. And he clearly sees Greg Vanney as a major reason for that success. I don't think you can decouple Vanney from the team and say, well, they did it in spite of him. That nobody had that since last year. Vanney was a major part of it. So did Greg Vanney suddenly become a bad coach, Rob? Did that happen? Did I miss something? Is he a bad coach?
I mean, anyone can develop bad habits over a short period of time, but from the information we have available to us, he has not been able to get the performance out of the team with the new pieces he has available. Whether his cupboard is a little bit short and he doesn't have a full set to set the plate and make the meal, but you feel like at some point you accidentally or you just grind it out enough to skimp away. 9 opportunities is plenty to find a win. Obviously, you get outplayed if you don't have the talent or bad games here and there, but 9 games is a lot to go without a single victory.
Yeah, and so winless in Major League Soccer after winning a championship is such a strange juxtaposition of things, right? Winless through 9 games. The year after you win a title, they're -10. They've only scored 6 goals in 9 games. They're -10 goal difference, which is worse in the league.
Yeah.
It does feel like, in a normal situation, you would say the coach has got to be responsible. And since we can't fire all the players, we got to fire the coach. I mean, this is the way of the world anywhere else. And of course, if I'm going to say these words, if there was promotion and relegation in Major League Soccer, then I really think
they would have going on
to consider something, right? So much of the conversation around the Galaxy, though, is about what our chat is talking about, that the turnover, that that the changes. Okay, so this is interesting. LA Galaxy overestimated the contribution of some players and way underestimated the value of others. How could they end up with zero money available going into the summer transfer window? Right, and this is obviously about the math and GAM available and the contracts. I mean, a Joveljic moving into a range where they could no longer pay him as a U22 initiative player was a major factor in his departure. I mean, I do think a lot of people will maybe look at Mark Delgado as the most emblematic player in what the Galaxy got wrong, even amidst the difficulties they have in terms of the budget, Rob, because Marco Delgado, whatever he's being called these days, was the unsung hero last year. He did get some plaudits at the end because he was so important in those playoff matches. But he's the guy that people would say, "Hey, he really held this together." And he goes across town. And obviously LAFC is not having a a great start, but he's been good for them too. And you're looking at replacing him with players that just haven't met the level. And is that is that Greg Vanney's fault? Is it Will Kuntz's fault, who got so much praise last year for building a championship team? Like, these guys didn't suddenly stop being good at their jobs. So you just keep giving them a pass because the league's system works against them.
It's one of those jobs where it's never done. Nothing's ever complete. It's always the next step along the way. Great, you won. Next season, probably about 10 minutes later after they won last year, they probably minds go to next year already. And it's a very competitive job. It's the what have you done for me lately, which is why this is even a question, is because the nature of how cutthroat, being a coach of a professional team of any sport is. And yeah, he still got that shine on him. If he didn't win the league last year, his seat would be a lot hotter. And I guess there's a lot of like understanding and justification going on regarding Vanney with all the pieces and the success and whatnot.
Yeah.
But okay, so what saves him? Does he make some adjustments with the pieces he has? Did they make a big
okay
move in
the hard truth right now is that there's really no real argument for making any changes, right? So the Galaxy went through the turnover in the front office, firing their president after all of those. Remember, they had the mismanagement of the roster budget.
That was only like 2 years ago?
2 years ago. They had the mismanagement of the roster budget. People were calling for heads to roll. They eventually did. They move on. They get, again, Will Kuntz moves across town from LAFC after being an assistant GM there, comes to the Galaxy, helps build a roster. Greg Vanney, a guy we know can win in this league because he did it in Toronto, particularly if you give him the weapons and the talent. He comes in and turns this team into a champion. They nearly finished first in the Western Conference. He missed out on it on the final day of the regular season. Right, so they had a very good year. Riqui Puig is a major part of that, but Paintsill and Peck, these are players that, again, Will Kuntz brought into the team to help put them over the top. And then I guess, again, what's so different in MLS, Rob, is that whereas in a European league, top level European league, and maybe to a certain extent Mexico, although the short seasons, I think that the tournaments really change this and make it more competitive campaign to campaign. In Europe, you would go, we could never stomach being champions and then dropping all the way down to the bottom of the table. Like even if you weren't being threatened by relegation, dropping to the middle of the table after a championship season would be a disaster. Right. Yeah. And maybe a coach would be fired. I don't know. Like it's really difficult to imagine anybody in Europe doing that because once established, you kind of float in that area. Now you may drop Manchester United. You may struggle for a while, but generally these teams are kind of like, Liverpool. We can't imagine Liverpool finishing lower than maybe sixth. Even in a disastrous year, Liverpool doesn't finish lower than sixth anytime in the near future. Really, anytime in the near future. Where the Galaxy go from the best team in the league or the champion of the league to the bottom of the league in one season. That whiplash, man, it's stunning. It's crazy. And I don't know that we have a frame of reference for it. But like I said, I think the argument is stay the course. Kuntz knows what he's doing. He built you a champion. Greg Vanney knows what he's doing. He coached a champion. You're missing so many pieces. You're missing Riqui Puig. You've got some turnover in the roster that's really tough to swallow. This comes back to Major League Soccer. And whether they change any rules or make it easier for a team to go from what the Galaxy were last year to a competitive team in the next season, I don't know. But I don't think there's any argument for making change right now. I think Ricky's right. Greg Vanney should not be on the hot seat.
Got a shout out, Soccer Night in Detroit, brand new member. Thank you so much for joining the MK Ultras, joining the memberships, getting priority commenting, getting early access to videos, and many more perks to come for becoming a member. Looking at the chat, Ian Webb, you asked a good question about USL and promotion to relegation and kind of the thought behind that. I would say look into the morning kick around catalog of videos. We've covered that in a number of different angles. Plenty to dig in on the USL promotion and relegation on the morning kick around YouTube channel. Be sure to check out that. And we really appreciate your questions and viewership. If you want to follow along on social media, please do so at MKickaround. Oh, we got another chat here. Detroit Soccer Night. Soccer Night in Detroit. Interesting to see that both DCFC's Darren Smith and Loudoun's Abakura have more league goals than Messi so far this year. Who would have thought that?
Who would have thought that? But wait, we have not yet covered. I know. So this is a little bonus time here. I know we're shouting out the members. Thank you very much. We have not yet covered what's happened at Loudoun United off of Pablo Maurer's story. I think we will have to get to that at some point in the near future. Maybe we can even get Pablo on the show. I also want to mention that RSL just got sold for $600 million. That includes Real Monarchs as well, and it also includes the Utah Royals, the NWSL team. So it's a triumvirate of teams and facilities and all of that. But maybe we need to talk about how MLS teams are valued and what they're going for these days. And so I want to cover that. I'm speaking it into existence, Rob.
Always a hinky sort of a topic. How do they value these Major League Soccer teams? Just how do they get these numbers? Definitely worth digging into. So thank you to everyone who subscribed. Thank you to our new members. And thank you for tuning in. And like I said, plenty of videos to dig into on the Morning Kick Around YouTube channel. And we will be back on Wednesday. Any final notes as we go out the door here, Mr. Davis?
No, I think that's good. I mean, what a show that was. And thank you to everybody who made it better by being in the chat. Definitely, as Rob said, sign up, help us out, move the show forward, be part of the community. There's a Discord for our members as well. So we'll have a vibrant chat there as well on when we're not doing the show.
All right. We will be back on Wednesday morning. And until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.